presents
First Impressions.
There's a new album out.
Oh, have you listened to it yet?
I'm digging the new album.
I'll check it out.
What do you think of the new album?
First Impressions.
Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Scratch a Truck podcast presented by the Dude and Bird Show. Today we have first impressions.
Initial first impressions. We just really jamming that thought home.
Yeah. Just want to emphasize that this is not a second impression or even a third. This is just initially the first
Initially the first one. It is. Yes. And you are? You didn't say who you were.
Oh, I'm Grim. And today, I didn't even realize you said you were Dude. I just know you that well. Well, I'm, still Grim. So today we're going to do our initial first impressions of, now this is a mouthful, just like the name of the title of the episode, Song Machine Season 1, Strange Times with a Z. Already like that.
No, well, of course. I mean, it's the Gorillaz, so it's going to be strange times, and these are strange times. Well, it was funny because before we got on, we were kind of talking about it. I was like, wait a minute, what actually is like the name of the album? And there was a podcast or something, a clip that I saw of Elton John and Damon like talking back and forth. I think Elton John initially called it like Song Machine, and then Damon was like, wait. He's like, actually, I think it's Strange Times. It was almost like they weren't really sure. He's like, it doesn't really matter, whatever. So I'm just curious. I mean, do you think it sounds like they wanted this album to not be a concept, and in its own way, it's kind of a concept with, season 2. I mean, is there going to be Song Machine season 2? Then what? Like Die Hard 2, Die Harder,
And then Die Hard with a Vengeance, Season 3, Song Machine with a Vengeance. I don't know.
Song Machine Harder. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I do like the concept, though. And I guess for me, I know that this is kind of going to be Gorillaz week on the podcast, as we're going to potentially be scratching a Gorillaz album on Wednesday. So yeah, I guess I thought it was, the whole idea was cool, because one thing that may or may not be mentioned later on Wednesday is that I guess, for me personally, I hadn't really, prior to watching the documentary, realized how important like the visual aspect was for the Gorillaz. I mean, I don't claim to be a super fan, so, don't stone me for that one, super fans out there, unless it's the right way. But I guess I just hadn't been as in tune with the visual part of it. I'd listened to a lot of their albums. I really like it. And looking at the album artwork and stuff, you can see there's a real strong visual component.
It's badass,
but this one, I think with the episodes that were released, I liked being able to watch the videos. Not to say that they hadn't released other videos, but this one I think just caught me because it was so pronounced and prevalent in that way.
Sure, and I think that was the idea behind it. They wanted to create, they wanted to do an album very different, as not necessarily a concept album like, hey, we're going to go to the studio and we're just going to work on this and we're going to get it done. It was meant to be, and this is kind of what they did, was every month they're going to release a song, or I guess you could call it an episode, and that's also accompanied by a music video. Now I believe they're up to about the album came out this past Friday, and so. Not only there's 11 songs on the album, and then there's on the deluxe version, there's also probably, I think, 5 or 6 extra songs. But they are doing, from what I understand, a music video for each of those. And I think they're up to about 7 or 8. The one with Elton John, I think that's the one, the Pink Phantom. That one just came out, I think, this past week or most recently, at least anyways.
And I like that. I think their depiction of him was really well done. It was cool.
Very cool. Yeah, it's definitely very cool. And I think, one of their ideas behind this they said it wasn't a concept album, but I do like the concept of it. And part of it is they basically said, recording an album, you have all these multiple, many ideas and things going on. But they felt like they could kind of change and evolve as the process went on, as they were recording like a new song. And I just thought that was kind of cool. But working, I mean, every one of these songs like features at least one person or multiple people, and some really, I mean, like we already mentioned Elton John, but the other two that really stood out for me when I was just looking through the list were Robert Smith of The Cure, and then Beck along with Elton John. Those are the three that really I locked on to.
I mean, I think Elton John, I would argue that that's like maybe the biggest person that they've got. If you think about it, I realize that a lot of people maybe of a younger age don't really appreciate Elton John, but I don't know that that people would also, unless you like older music, understand the magnitude of what a huge artist that is. I mean, the only one I could
Elton John.
Just fucking knighted, just so you know.
It's kind of a big deal.
But I mean, Lou Reed was a big name, but still not in the same category as an Elton John. Not the only one close of modern times would be when they got Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I will say the one that he didn't make the Plastic Beach album, Burt Bacharach. I mean, that would have been amazing. That would have been pretty sweet. I mean, he's right up there. But they're not. I haven't seen the Burt Bacharach movie yet, but I'm sure it's in production.
Oh. Well, so talking about the videos, I also like the episodes, and I've watched most of them. But I also like the machine bites, where it's basically it's kind of weird. It's just like it just has the faces of the characters in the band, and they just kind of bounce around, and they're just talking to each other about the song and the people who are on the song. And sometimes, like with Schoolboy Q, they actually had like a phone call that he was on with somebody, and they kind of put it together in a really cool way. And I found those enjoyable because I just like, even though it's a virtual band, I like the idea of just like artists talking about the song.
Totally. Yeah, no, that's really cool. Well, and that's what's one thing about this album. You just said, it's a virtual band. They started doing this kind of around, pandemic lockdown time is when, the first couple tracks came out, and they were, I think, meant to release a track every few weeks or something like that. Initially, that might have been the plan. And then things kind of slowed down, got a little crazy. So they had to kind of slow it down a little bit. But they talked about just, technologically how they were able to just, hey, you can send people files and things and trade stuff back and forth. And it's just so easy to do now. Whereas like back in the day, you got like reels of tape and you're taking it to this studio and this studio, and God, hoping something doesn't get screwed up along the way. Mm-hmm. But the third, I guess the third member of the Gorillaz, Remy Kabaka Jr., he joined the band, I guess, in about 2016, and just in an interview with him, he just kind of said, he was like, you have multiple, I guess, ideas and options, and you can't be scared of like losing that idea when you're working and collaborating with so many people, because you have an idea, I think, in your head of what that artist might bring to the song, but they might bring something totally different, right? And so you have to kind of be flexible in what they're going to do. And it kind of got me to thinking a little bit about Brian Wilson and Pet Sounds, because it doesn't seem like he could really, at least during that time, he could work under that kind of, guise, I guess, where, hey, like he knew what he wanted and just do it. Right.
Well, but that was different too, because I mean, he was actually writing and scoring the instrumental parts, so it was much more like
didn't have so much wiggle room.
Yeah.
Right.
But what about the do you have a favorite of the videos? Because I really liked Strange Times, because with the Winnebago in space, it reminded me of Spaceballs. And I really liked that immediately.
The movie, yes.
The movie, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was actually the first video, the first episode maybe that they released, and that was Momentary Bliss. And what I liked about it is it showed them sort of in their studio, but it seemed to be like Damon's almost like home office or somebody's like office. It wasn't like a real recording studio, and everybody's just kind of like plugged in, and it was almost it seemed like it could have been the actual studio recordings, like of video shots and stuff. I mean, it may not be the actual takes. But I just thought the video was cool. I always like it when they do that, because when I would do videos like with you guys and stuff, I'm like, oh man, it's sweet when that's like the actual take, like in the studio,
and you have it
performing that track. Like, it's pretty badass. So I'd say, yeah, that was just one that really stood out to me. But dude, they're all cool. They're all kind of different, and they're just fun to watch and listen to. I like the way they just do stuff. They're not stuck in like one box. They're not afraid to do anything. That's a little different. So
one thing I like too, and it's really subtle for me, but the bit of the videos, right, is they all have this stylistic thing where it shows like a stylized faceplate for a Wurlitzer electric piano.
Oh,
and you,
okay.
And you turn it on.
Yeah.
And
in the beginning, right?
And as we're talking about this, you can overlay. I'll send you a little clip of what it actually looks like. But they did such a cool job of like stylizing that and making it part of it, I thought.
Cool. Yeah. Well, awesome. So again, this is our initial first impressions. And so I've only listened to, I think, the album. Again, it came out on Friday. I think I've listened to it twice all the way through. The first time was the deluxe version, and I wasn't really sure where the album ended. But so it does end. Technically, the album ends at track 11, Momentary Bliss. And so I've listened to that twice, and I've seen the videos. And I'll admit, the first time I listened to it, it was very, I wasn't sure what to think right away. It was, I'd been listening to a lot of Plastic Beach lately, and it's not that. So
yeah,
that's that. So I think initially, right off the bat, I hadn't done as much research on it. Like, I knew they were putting out one track at a time, but I just wasn't really sure kind of the direction it was going. So I think the first time I listened to it, I was like, oh, okay. But then I listened to it. I think I watched the videos again this morning, and then I listened to it one more time. And just in that period, it's definitely grown on me. Now, there are songs that I'm probably not a huge fan of initially that will probably take some more listens. But what I found was interesting, at least for myself, was the songs that I didn't gravitate towards were the Beck song, the Robert Smith song, and actually the Elton John song. Like, I figured like those are the ones I'd be like, oh, these are going to be my favorites. I actually, some of the other ones that of artists that I wasn't as familiar with, those ones are the ones that stood out to me. So
really, okay,
really.
I did kind of like the Beck one, I think, because lyrically, I felt like it was the lyrics were good. But I know what you mean about the ones, because I guess I'm not familiar with Lee John. But I really enjoyed the Lost Chord.
Dude, I like that song a lot. Yep.
And I thought Pac-Man was pretty cool, and Chalk Tablet Towers. I was hoping St. Vincent was going to have a little more prevalence in that song, because I really like her, and she's an awesome, amazing guitarist as well. But she's there.
She's there. Yeah. Desolate and Momentary Bliss, I think the other, those are the last two tracks. Those are the ones that really stood out to me too. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely excited to listen to it a little more and see if I connect a little more with it. There were a few songs, and I think we talked a little bit about this offline. Some of the more, I guess, hip hoppy in raps, didn't really do it for me. And maybe you want to talk a little bit about
not at all
that. Yeah.
And no offense to any of them, but I just think of some of the other MCs that they've paired with. They've had MF Doom on, they've had Mos Def on, and when you listen to how many others, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, but when you listen to how those guys flow, I just don't feel that. And a lot of this stuff sounds less like actual rap to me, or at least what I would perceive as rap. Like it, there's no echoes of modern rap, a la why can't I think of the name?
Run the Jewels.
like two guys who are really just kicking its ass.
Dude,
it's all like that.
I would like
kind
to
of,
see them collaborate, man. That would
Oh
be
my God, I
fucking
know.
sweet, dude.
Yeah, to me, it's all just kind of like that, kind of washed out, half auto-tuned, not really saying a whole lot, and that
It's soft.
I
It's
realized
soft, man.
that that's really cool nowadays, depending on what circles you run in or what you listen to. But it is not for me. I mean, and
Yeah,
it's just not for me. And
Yeah, it's weird because
I'd be interested to hear like the super fans' opinion.
what do you guys
And
think?
maybe there's a lot of people who do like it. I don't care for it. But
It's not for me. Well, I think it's one of those things, and that's not just even the style of music that I typically like or gravitate towards, but I've heard enough of it, and I find that, kind of the vocal effects and things, like, it is just like way overused, way overdone.
yeah.
Like I feel like I've just heard it on almost every track now.
if you
and
can't,
I
don't
just,
fucking sing if you can't sing.
Yeah, it's too much, man. It's too much. It's just a weird thing. I think it's just kind of lazy. Like
It
it's
is.
almost like, hey, anybody can do it. Okay, I can put words together and I can do this, and all right, put me on an album, and that's.
And it's not like if they would have done it and actually had T-Pain, who was one of the people who were like really brought it to prominence, there would be something special there.
It would be.
But
Definitely.
I just, where it's gone and where quote unquote rap nowadays is gone, I don't get it. Like rap to me is more like Run the Jewels, not whatever that is.
Not whatever that is.
Sorry.
Whatever that
Actually,
is,
I'm not
I don't
sorry.
like that. Sorry. not
Yeah.
sorry. So
yeah.
yeah. So overall, though, I mean, this, again, it came out on Friday, at least the full album, because many tracks had been released since the beginning of the year, and that seems to be, certain bands are doing that. We just did our
Flaming Lips did that.
first initial impressions of American Head, and I think like probably half the album was actually available before the rest of the tracks dropped. So that seems to be something bands are doing a little more of.
Well,
But,
I saw that, and I purposely didn't listen to it, just because
I waited too.
Yeah, just so that my initial first impression could be really, it could truly be initial. And
Initially,
yeah,
yes, and boy,
But-
has it been.
yeah, I don't know. I know what you mean. At first, I was kind of. I think anyone has in their head an expectation of like what they would want a band's new album to sound like, which is a stupid thing to say or even think, but you build that up in your head.
You do,
You know?
absolutely.
And this wasn't what I thought it would be. For some reason, to me, I feel like there's kind of a little bit of an 80s vibe throughout it, like with the way the music sounds. That could be
There is a few
dumb thing to
songs-
say, but I just felt like
There's a few songs where I felt like that kind of came out.
Yeah, and I felt like the intro to The Lost Chord, just the first little bit of it really reminded me of the intro for Shine On You Crazy Diamond Parts 1 through
Yeah, you
5,
said
which
that.
is interesting because Damon Albarn takes a stab at Pink Floyd in the Gorillaz documentary. But maybe there was some influence there after all.
It's possible, It's possible.
Yeah. But I really did. I like that song.
Imitation is the finest form of flattery. So
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
yeah. But so I think definitely it's something this is an album I'm looking forward to getting into much more and giving it many more listens. And I think down the road, perhaps next year, at some point, we'll do our full scratch of the album. I'm sure many of you are looking forward to that. But this Wednesday, in 2 days, mark your calendars, we will be coming out with a track of a Gorillaz album, and we're pretty excited for it, man. So bring your suntan lotion.
Yeah. Yeah, for a couple of reasons. So I think that initially that's pretty much my first impression. And
And I think that initially wraps it up. This is our initial wrap up right here. Definitely. Well, thank you for everyone for kind of hanging out with us, and definitely let us know your thoughts, what you guys think of the album. Do you have any favorite tracks on it? Some stuff that you could do without? Maybe you like this new direction. I don't know if to say new direction, but this direction the Gorillaz are kind of going. But
we're not super fans, so don't hang us for that one. I'd love to hear a super fan's perspective on it all. Really would.
Absolutely. And please like, subscribe, and tune in on Wednesday. All right, everyone. Take care.
First Impressions
is produced by the Dude and Grim. Additional music provided by More. That's ... MORE in the Timez, TIMNZ. Copyright 2020. The Dude and Grim Show.